Hello and welcome to Board Game Gumbo. Today we're unboxing a game that I'm really excited about. This is Warhammer Quest, Cursed City. Before we get into the game itself, I just want to take a minute and thank The Lucky Roll. The Lucky Roll is a YouTube channel that I personally follow. I really enjoy their content, and they were nice enough to do a giveaway on this game, which was really fortunate because Games Workshop sold out of the first print run and then basically said, hey, we're not making any more of these, so if you got it, good for you. And obviously I didn't have a copy yet. So the Lucky Roll did a giveaway, and obviously I was lucky enough to win it. So just a big thank you to them. I'm going to put a link to their channel in the description if you wouldn't mind going and check them out. They have really great content, and right now they're doing a playthrough of Bloodborne, the board game. So if you're interested in that game, definitely give them a look. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this game now, which I'm really excited for. So Cursed City, like all the games in the Warhammer Quest line, are Dungeon Delver style games. It plays 1 to 4 players, although even if you're playing solo, you're always playing as 4 characters, and plays in 2 to 3 hours. And that's largely going to depend on the scenario you're playing, because Cursed City doesn't have a linear storyline. They kind of give you these different types of missions that you can do and just let you do whatever mission you choose to do. Obviously, there's an end goal of defeating the final bad guy here. But so here are the miniatures, and if you ever played a Games Workshop game, you know you're going to have to put miniatures together. But the trade-off for that is that they have really great quality because they use this sprue system. I mean, just look at the detail on this guy's cloak. It's really impressive. And then the halberd up here, I mean, they just get a great amount of detail. So you got to put in a little extra work, but I really think they have some of the best miniatures out there right now in board gaming. So we have these dark gray sprues for the bad guys. Here is our sprue specifically for the main bad guy, the sort of vampire lord that you're trying to ultimately defeat. And you can kind of see this really cool wolf cloak he's got going on. So that's the main bad guy. And then the heroes are all in this lighter color plastic, just to remind you which ones are which. But again, just looking at these, I mean, really great detail on them. So a lot of work to put them together. We may do a couple videos, assembly and painting videos, but they're going to be worth it. We got a little divider here. This is mostly just to keep the figures from doing damage to the contents below. And then the contents in our box, we've got our rule books. We've got a couple of them, so let's take a look at those real quick. Here is our main rule book, and if you've ever played any of the Games Workshop Warhammer Quest games before, like Blackstone Fortress, the system's going to be pretty familiar to you. Even if you just play Dungeon Divers in general, like Gloomhaven, again, a lot of this is going to be easy for you to get into. The game does have a day and night cycle, which that little board there is for. Essentially, you have a couple of rounds, I think about 10, and then it switches to night time where enemies get a lot more difficult. We've got some pictures of what the heroes and enemies should look like once you paint them. Mine are definitely not going to look this good, but we'll do our best. And more pictures of our bad guys, sort of our standard bad guys here. And then at the very bottom there, some little tokens. I'm not going to go through all of this because we'll talk about it as we're unboxing, but you can just see the different components in the game. And if you're interested in the game, you can pause to take a closer look. So there's our main rule book, and now we get to the quest book, which is going to be basically your map setup as well as your lore. So to start off here, we've got lore for the city in general. This is the city of Ulfenkarn, and there's a vampire lord trying to essentially take over the city, and you are heroes trying to stop him. So here's all our bad guys. Radikar the Wolf is our vampire lord, and then his lieutenants on the right hand side there. Here's all of our good guys. A little backstory on each one of them. And then our different type of journeys. So again, you really get to choose how you want to play this game. You can go on hunt journeys, which are just defeating bad guys. Or you can go on scavenge journeys, where you're looking to upgrade your equipment and find new stuff. Deliverance journeys are trying to reduce typically the fear of the vampire lord, and then you've got decapitation journeys, which are trying to beat up the lieutenants. And then back here we've got all our crises. These are little mini events that will pop up while you're playing. But the game doesn't really tell you what you have to do. It gives you access to all of these missions, and you decide which ones you want to do. We got another little packet here, and this one says do not open until the final decapitation mission, so we'll just hang on to that for now. The War Scrolls, so obviously Warhammer is a tabletop game, and if you want to use these figures in the tabletop game, this will tell you their stats and how to use them. A nice art here in the middle, that's the box art again. Really like the art for this game. It's one of the things that first attracted me to it. So here we got just an assembly guide for the various figures. It looks like about 3 or 4 pieces per figure, so not too difficult. Little advertisement there, and then an errata on one of the hero figures, it looks like. All right, so the rest of the box here, we've got a bag of bases for all our figures, and some more bases, and then a bag of cards that look like it exploded on us a little bit. So we'll get those together. Oh, one final base, and then a bag of dice. So characters will activate with these white activation dice. They will start with 4, and they'll use the values on them to take certain actions on their turn. Actually, one of the really interesting mechanics of the game is that you can essentially assign these dice as reactions. So if I rolled 2 5s and I haven't used them on my turn, I can decide to hold them for the enemy's turn. I'm going to lose a single point of value on those dice. So they're going to turn from 5s down to 4s. But now I can use these 4s on the enemy turn. So if an enemy moves into my area, I can hit them on their turn. We've got 3 different types of basically success dice. We got D12s, D8s, and D6s. They have successes on them, which are the little pips, and then critical successes are the 2 pips. And you'll be rolling these for various attack and defense actions mainly. And then we've got a D12 in here. This is for enemy AI and just sort of random dice rolls for different tables. So our cards here, we've got the small cards, and these are the initiative cards. So each player, or each figure, I should say, is going to have one of the white cards, and then the black cards are going to be for the bad guys. And at the start of the round, you're going to shuffle them up and deal them out randomly. I do really like the art on these cards, but I like the art in this game in general, so that's not a surprise. So at the beginning of the round, you'll shuffle them up and you'll deal them out, and enemies and heroes will activate in a random order. Although there is a way to manipulate these cards as you're playing, so you can move your heroes in front of bad guys or vice versa. More cards here. So we've got these trait cards, and these are how your character gains new abilities as they level up. So when your character levels, you may want to give them the Stalwart trait, which gives them special abilities, or they're double-sided, so you could also be the Executioner. And there are quite a few of these. There's 8 of them, and they are double-sided, so 16 different options for leveling up is pretty nice with 8 characters. So then more of the art, which again is pretty nice. And then on the back, these look like the treasure cards. So as you're searching, you'll find treasure. It's kind of weird that they don't have any art on them. I mean, I love the art on the back, but it's been a while since I've seen a treasure card without art on them. Most of these are single-use items. And then we get back here. So when you're searching for items, you might also find a trap, or you might find a crisis. And that comes back to that crisis section of the rulebook that we looked at. You're going to roll and activate one of those. You also have these cards here, which are how you level up your characters. So your characters always have their starting equipment, but they can make their starting equipment stronger through using those cards. Some big cards here, and these should be the enemy and hero cards. So here is the big bad guy, the vampire lord you're trying to defeat. And each bad guy has an empowered side, which happens when it turns to night. So if you spend too long on a mission, it'll turn from day to night, and then enemies will get stronger. And then obviously you see here is their day side, their weaker side. They have a behavior table. That's where that D12 comes in. So when you activate a monster, you're going to roll the D12, and that's going to tell you what that monster is going to do, and it'll activate actually a whole group. So if you have 6 zombies, it'll activate all the zombies. You see special abilities and then their attacks. So this guy attacks with melee. He rolls a red and a blue die, or a D12 and a D8 to see if he hits, and then he's going to deal either 3 or 4 damage, which is quite a bit of damage. And then we have his lieutenants. And then finally, sort of our standard bad guys here. So we've got skeletons, bats, rats, zombies, bloodborne, and night guards. And then here are our heroes. Heroes are double-sided as well. So their starting side, they have this path to glory, and that's going to tell them how they gain inspiration. Inspiration is basically a resource in the game. And when you gain 3 of them, you will flip over your character and to their inspired side, and they'll be a little bit stronger. Each character has a path to glory, which is basically a way for them to gain inspiration, although there are other ways as well. But you can see that on the normal side, this character rolls a single red D12 for damage, and on the inspired side, they roll 2 of the D8s. And they have special abilities as well, just like the villains do. But here are all of our heroes. There are 8 to choose from. And like I said, regardless of how many players you are playing the game with, you are always going to be playing with 4 heroes at a time. And then finally, we have this City in Peril card. So the Vampire Lord is inflicting fear on the town, and he's also gaining influence in the town. And both of those are obviously bad things. Either one reaches 10, you immediately lose. So while you can do whatever missions you want, you also want to be aware of the fear and influence. And then we have little spots for tombstones for the different lieutenants as you defeat them. If you don't defeat them, they can actually show up in different missions. So you want to defeat them when you can. And our final deck of cards here. So these are empowerment cards. This is essentially how you make your characters better. You can empower their weapons. Like I said, you always have the starting weapons, and they cost a certain amount of those stones that we saw in the treasure deck. And they improve your weapons in different ways. Like this one makes all your special attacks, they can't be resisted. So we got several empowerments for weapons. We've got empowerments for armor, and then that's it. So empowerment cards. Again, I'm enjoying the art on pretty much all of these. Then we have encounter cards. Whenever you start a scenario, you're going to put out a certain number of encounter cards, and depending on your hero level, they are going to put out the bad guys that you'll be encountering. So if you're level 0 heroes, you'll encounter 3 bat swarms, or if you're level 5, you'll encounter more. And this is also how reinforcements work. If you defeat an encounter, you'll draw a new card from the encounter deck and put it into the lineup in certain scenarios. One of the interesting rules in this game is a retreat system. So basically, you don't have to defeat all of the enemies in an encounter. If you are fighting 3 bats and you defeat 2 of them, the last one will just run away. And we have our exploration. So this is another type of scenario that you can go through. And basically, when you do this one, you'll have 2 map tiles out at the very beginning. And then as you clear or open the second door from the second tile, you'll just draw a new card. And it'll tell you which tiles to put after that. But you can see all the tiles that are available. And then some more great art. And then finally, I'm not actually certain what these are for. Maybe they are dividers, but I still like the art on them. The card stock on all these is excellent. They're not linen finish, but they are more than adequate. And here we have our boards and then some bags at the very bottom. So here we have all our map tiles. They're nice and thick. They punch out pretty easily. They got kind of a glossy finish to them, but they look really nice. I like the artwork on them. You can also see that it's really easy to see the actual squares on each one of them, which is important for movement. And then at the top here, we've got some punch outs for doors. So these are the doors in the game. They don't have any 3D doors. They just use little cardboard pieces. More map tiles here. We've got some tokens up here. I believe these are inspiration tokens. I could be wrong about that. They punch out pretty easily. Again, more of the art that I really enjoy. Looks like our final sheet of map tiles here. And then main sheet of other pieces here. So here's our little dial that tracks our day and night cycle. There's also destiny dice. I forgot to mention those. Those are the black dice. And so each character will get 4 activation dice, but then collectively you'll have a certain number of destiny dice that you'll roll and players will have access to. So they'll get some extra actions potentially. Then we have our day cycle, which is along the outside. If you spend too much time, it turns into night and all the bad guys get more difficult. And then the inner circle is just for tracking objectives. So if you have to do 8 things during a scenario, you can track it there. We've got our initiative track here. So for those little cards that we saw earlier, you'll just draw them and place them out, starting with the 1. And then at the top here will be the encounter cards. So a couple other pieces. Here's our tombstones to track which lieutenants we've defeated. We've got damage tokens. So whenever you take damage in this game, you lose access to your activation dice. So first time you take damage, you get one of these little 1 damage tokens. If you take a second point of damage, the 1 flips to a 3, and it's just more difficult to get rid of. And then if you take a third point of damage, you'll get a second 1, and now you're down 2 dice. We got the little trackers for the day and night cycle, and also the objective marker. And then here we have the tokens for the influence and the fear. That's on that main board. Again, you're trying to keep it from getting to 10. These are character tokens, just to mark which character is which. It's important for influence because the influence cards have the same graphics on them. And that's it. That's everything you get in a copy of Warhammer Quest: Cursed City by Games Workshop.